Well, the press is fully all in support of Biden. I'm worried about the election. I think it's really volatile. I think it could go either way. I think we could have a fantastic election. The president could win by a big margin, and we could win both houses of Congress. But I also think it could be devastating. And I think we either win the presidency and win the Senate, or we lose the presidency and lose the Senate. And I very much hope it's the former and not the latter. And it depends on turnout. It depends on who shows up.
So that was Ted Cruz earlier this evening on Fox News, basically admitting that he's terrified the Republicans are going to get trounced in the upcoming election, which is basically a month away. Ted Cruz, on the one hand, in that clip, gives the caveat that any politician would give. You know, we could win this election or we could lose this election. It could either go really good or really bad. But when you listen to his voice, you can hear almost a tremble in it a little bit, that he's actually really far more likely to believe the Republicans are in a bad position. That he's seeing the polls, the external polls, but also likely internal ones. He knows what the swing states are looking like, and he also knows what a lot of red states, but that are not total red states, like Texas, like Georgia, like South Carolina, how they're looking, at least, you know, in reach for Biden and a lot of Democratic Senate candidates. And he knows that not only can, you know, Joe Biden easily beat Donald Trump if the polls are correct, but that they could easily lose control of the Senate. And if you go back even at the beginning of the year, there was a sense that Trump was certainly vulnerable, but that Republican senators, there was enough of them, you know, running in relatively safe states, that there weren't going to be enough pickups for the Democrats to really take control of the Senate, or certainly take strong control. They might be able to eke out like a 51-49. But right now, you're seeing Lindsey Graham in trouble. You're seeing Joni Ernst in trouble. You're seeing all sorts of senators that, again, back in February were at least relatively safe. Now they're in trouble. And Ted Cruz sees the writing on the wall. And this is due to so many factors: the economic devastation, the lack of aid for working class and middle class people, how Donald Trump and the Republicans basically tried to cover up this health crisis, and at the very, very best, they've sort of downplayed it, leading to 200,000 people perishing without any kind of sympathy, seemingly, from the Republican Senate or from the Republican White House. And they know that people are fed up. They know that. And just today, seemingly today, I think maybe the writing was put on the wall once and for all in this election. And it came this afternoon when Donald Trump, on Twitter, in a fit of rage, basically fired off 4 or 5 tweets saying that the Democrats don't want to make a deal on the stimulus, and that he's fed up with them, and that he's instructing Republicans to stop trying to get a stimulus deal and focus full-time on getting Amy Coney Barrett onto the Supreme Court. Now, that is politically, you know, foolish. It's absolutely idiotic to make that move. Because one, people need stimulus right now. Whether you're a small business or you're an individual or whatever, you're a downtown business association, I don't know. You know that there's still too many people out of work or only working part-time. The economy is struggling and people need money in their hands. At the very least, there needs to be another direct stimulus payment to every regular person in America. It's what's needed for those people, but also the businesses they frequent. No one can deny that. The Fed chair was saying that. The stock market signaled that when they heard they weren't going to get a stimulus, that it basically took a huge immediate tumble. Whether big or small business or just individuals, people want a stimulus package. Now, what was happening was that there was no agreement between Pelosi and McConnell and Trump on what that package might look like. And so at the very least, the Republicans could say, look, we wanted to give you a package, but we wanted it to be responsible, fiscally responsible. I know that's BS, but like that's their narrative. But the big spending Democrats wouldn't be reasonable. And they gave that all away. Now Trump has admitted, I am the one obstructing a stimulus package. It doesn't matter what Nancy Pelosi does, or the Democrats do, or even the Senate Republicans do. I have given up on giving American people the support they need, in essence, to survive for some people. Some people are going to perish because of Trump's giving up on this stimulus package. And that's not an exaggeration. He's given up on it, and he's admitted it. And I think Republicans now know they have a president that's given up something that 75% of Americans think needs to happen, which obviously has to include a good chunk of Republican voters. And he's trying to force through Amy Coney Barrett in a manner that even a lot of people who might vote Republican think is hypocritical and far too rash. That even if they don't mind Amy Coney Barrett personally, they think that forcing her through with less than a month to go before the election, given that the Republicans argued against a final year appointment 4 years ago, they think it's really bad moral politics. Whatever the constitutionality of it, it doesn't pass the smell test. So Ted Cruz sees all of this, and he knows the writing's on the wall. For him personally, luckily, he just got reelected, barely, back in 2018 over Beto O'Rourke. So he's not up for reelection this time. So he's got a bit of a breather. But he knows that the Democrats could take control of the Senate. And while I'm skeptical that the moderate Democrats are really going to push forward the reforms needed, there is the fear from Republicans, and they deserve to be shaking in their boots, that they're going to make D.C. a state and maybe Puerto Rico a state. They're going to make it easier, gasp, for working class and black and Hispanic people to vote. And the Republicans will find it harder and harder to gerrymander false victories. They are terrified right now because they know that if they potentially lose power and the game is just made less rigged in their favor, they might never win again unless they actually start to represent the values of Americans. And they don't want to do that.